Hello everyone, welcome back to Fantasy Forge. I'm Cameron Holt, and the time has come yet again to randomly generate a D&D monster and a Pokemon, and to mesh the two together into one horrific monstrosity. The resulting beasts will be added to my ever-growing list of monsters that populate my homebrew world of Vassacre, and you can feel free to add them to your own homebrew worlds as you see fit. You can find links to the lists that I use to randomly generate the Pokemon and the D&D monsters in the description down below if you want to play along at home. Now, with all that out of the way, it's time to hop into our first fusion of the day. Our foremost Pokemon is Ditto. This may be the fastest Pokemon sketch to date. This copycat Pokemon can alter itself to look almost exactly like any other Pokemon that it has seen. It still has trouble in the facial region, but we love him just the same. The lucky monster getting melded with the Bubblegum Boy is the Mind Flayer. These tentacle-mouthed aberrations are the terrors of the multiverse. Their psionic abilities are the envy of unearthed Arcana followers far and wide. Maybe one day, friends. Until then, we'll continue to fear these Underdark-dwelling, brain-eating hive minds in all their eldritch glory. Together they form the Echo Putty. Deep within the damp and salty marble caves along the eastern coasts of Vassacre, where the vigilant sea bores into the stone cliff sides, a curious ooze forms. Cursed with intellect but no way to articulate its thoughts, the Echo Putty attaches itself to the cave tops, waiting to drop down atop unsuspecting spelunkers. It uses its acidic nature to dissolve and digest their forms, taking them as its own. It not only absorbs the physical form, but the memories as well. The putty does not, however, retain every memory. It gathers as much as it can, but avoids taking every memory as a form of self-preservation. Some Echo Putties are said to recall the moment in which the brain was devoured, containing not only the memory of absorbing the brain, but having it absorbed from the prey's perspective as well, driving them mad. Sailors tell tales of deformed bodies found splashing about in the sea, half-formed and undrowning. So be wary, dear traveler, for if your ship should come across a thrashing body far out at sea, it may be wearing your face before the night is through. Our next Pokemon of the day is Parasect. This grass and bug type is straight out of The Last of Us. I actually wasn't aware until doing my research for this video that Parasect is actually a bug being controlled by a mushroom parasite. The name makes so much more sense now. The D&D monster being added to the mix is the Lost. Oh yes. This Sarasworn is one of my favorite monsters to run as a DM. Once it grapples a player in its vice-like knife arms, the grip gets tighter and tighter each time it is wounded, dealing damage to the grappled target in addition to the Lost itself. It is said to be the personification of loss, and once found, they're not fond of letting go. As one, they are the Maldo. The forests of Hoston are full to the brim with magical energy. The weave seems to flow with more intensity than anywhere else on Vassacre. The forest itself experiences all 4 seasons in a single day. Flowers bloom and trees green like spring as the sun crests over the horizon. By midday, a humid summer heat befalls the woods, often bringing with it a thin, ethereal mist. As the sun sets, the leaves change and begin their drifting descent to the forest floor. By nightfall, the trees are nearly barren and the temperature drops significantly. Because of the rapid cycle of growth and death, the forest floors of Hoston are covered in a thick, soft blanket of leaves and mulch. There are hundreds of types of fungi hard at work to break down the tree debris, but among the smallest are the Maldo. These small scorpion-like living fungi are abundant along the forest floor. While relatively harmless, these tiny creatures prefer to feast on the droppings of ettercaps and giant spiders. These monsters know to leave the Maldo be, however. It secretes a ruby-red substance that, if ingested or introduced to the bloodstream, leaves the ingester paralyzed and poisoned, in constant pain and unable to call out for aid. This makes the mucus highly sought after by many alchemists and assassins, but few are brave enough to traverse the webbed portions of the woods where the Maldo spends its days feasting on the forest floor. Our final Pokemon of the day is Pidgey, the abundantly ever-present flying type of the grasslands. Oddly enough, nearly every Pokédex entry for Pidgey mentions in some way that it uses its wings to kick up dust or sand to blind its enemies and escape instead of fighting. The D&D monster getting mashed up with the scaredy bird is, the Garistro. These Minotaur-esque fiends have an immeasurable strength, and not much going on upstairs, aside from their labyrinthine recall. Even the smallest Garistros are said to be 20-foot tall lumbering beefcakes built to destroy other fiends on the front lines of the never-ending war between demons and devils. You can't get much further from the concept of a Pidgey, and I can't get much more excited. Let's do this. In the west of Vassacre, across the windswept savannas of the Yellow Plains, and past the enchanted forests of Hoston, stretches a vast desert known as the Dunes. To outsiders, the dunes appear uncrossable, dry, hot, and dead. But in reality, the desert is teeming with life. Oases dot the arid landscape, a much-needed natural pit stop between long stretches of sand and dust. One must be wary of the oasis perimeters, local nomads warn. Patrolling the outer perimeters of these springs, one can often be found by a large brute of the desert, the dune glider. These bloodthirsty avian monstrosities stand at a towering 12 feet tall, hovering from dune to dune, picking off the fauna that gather to drink at the watering holes. Their strength puts a harpy to shame, and their keen eyes can spot prey from miles off. If you plan to travel into the dunes, I suggest you hire a guide and bring plenty of supplies for your travels, for once you spot the hulking dune glider in the distance, it's already too late. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to Fantasy Forge for more fun with D&D Pokemon Fusions, speed paints, art challenges, D&D animatics, and much, much more. I can't believe we're already past the 200 subscriber point, and I am ever grateful to those of you who enjoy the content that I make here enough to do so. I encourage you to join our ever-growing community for much more to come in the future. I'll see all of you in the next video, but until then, stay safe out there, adventurers.